Welcome back to another episode on EI Studios. Today we're having a debate over Shin Godzilla versus Kratos, aka God of War. Who would come out as the victorious? Who would win? With some very special guests. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, Payvam is here.
And Deagle Rands.
So usually what we do is we talk about Shin Godzilla first, so we'll do the opposite today. We'll start talking about Kratos and his weaknesses, strengths, backstory, etc., so on and so forth. So Mr. Deagle Danny, go ahead and start.
Alright, so our challenger, Kratos, is the demigod and the main character of the God of War series video game. Kratos, as said before, is a demigod. He was raised in Sparta as also being called the Ghost of Sparta, from the God of War to the Slayer of Gods. Kratos is basically an absolute powerhouse. He is fathered by the King of the Gods, Zeus, and throughout the story, it's basically him just murdering gods. It basically becomes like second nature to him. Kratos.
Yes, and one thing I'd like to point out is he became a Spartan warrior after accidentally killing his family due to Ares' trickery. So Ares pretty much tricked Kratos into killing his own family. And Deagle Danny, would you like to continue?
Yes. During a few wars, Kratos pledged himself to Ares, and through that, Kratos became infused with a massive bloodlust. He just went on a complete killing spree, massacring everything. Eventually, it led up to him unknowingly killing his own family, being his wife and daughter. This horrified him when he finally came to the realization and swore that he would destroy the God of War for what he did. Eventually doing so, carrying his famous twin blades with him. They came throughout different names, from the Blades of Chaos to Blades of Exile.
Yes. And the one thing I'd like to point out is, despite Kratos being all evil, in the Norse era, he actually tries making his powers good, and he tries controlling his rage and inner self. And
well, that's a little bit later on, but as of right now, during like the main God of War series.
I just want to point out.
Well, in the main God of War series, he basically goes on a murder spree, eventually killing Ares and becoming the new God of War. However, he does abuse the power, and eventually the other gods come in and just steal it away, such as Zeus, who gives him the Blade of Olympus, which is basically an incredibly overpowered blade that was used to kill titans. And it took in Kratos' powers, making him more powerful, but turning Kratos back into an average demigod. And after that, he just went on his natural killing spree throughout the rest of the God of War series, until eventually destroying everything and turning the world into chaos. Now going back to what Mr. Payvam said, Kratos eventually, well, during the end of the last God of War game, being God of War 3, Kratos impaled himself with the Blade of Olympus and released all of the energy within him. And there was a after scene that we saw, you can go search it up if you want, that shows Kratos surviving and crawling out. Unknowingly how he ended up in the new series, that's still a mystery yet to be revealed. Kratos now lives in the era of Norse mythology, marrying again, which turned out to be a giant woman, having a son, and as again Mr. Payvam has pointed out, he is now trying to control his powers, and now he's raising his son, Atreus.
And fun fact, even though everyone knows him having a son, in the comic series he did actually have a daughter, and I believe she had passed away in that.
Oh, yes. That's cool.
Actually, I did mention that his family, being his wife and daughter, died.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically throughout this God of War series, being the most recent one, Kratos and his son basically traveled throughout the world and tried to fulfill his wife's dying wishes by having her ashes spread across the land of the giants, being what I believe to be called Jotunheim.
Yeah, Jotunheim. Yeah.
Yes. So going to strengths, Kratos, being raised as a Spartan, and a demigod, has absolutely inhuman amount of strength. He's able to take any amount of damage you could throw at him. Being mountain-sized titans to being the strength of gods to giants, no matter what, he is basically having immense power and strength. Even in old age, as seen in the present God of War, he has immense strength. Speed, he has a above average, like superhuman speed, but I guess it's mainly his strength quality that's the strongest. His weapon that he carries now is a frost axe that belonged to his wife, which he now mastered and carried.
And sorry, but one thing I'd like to point out is that the red marks that you see on Kratos wasn't on him before. He actually tattooed himself in the red ink to have identical birthmark as his brothers to honor his siblings.
And also, I remember in the latest God of War game, God of War 4, pretty much, he does say to Atreus to that the marks actually is supposed to protect you, to give you protection. Yeah.
Yes, those marks actually signify for Spartans a type of bloodline protection, being a strong brotherhood through that. But yeah, Kratos basically throughout the series goes off from killing, I guess you could say, the sons of Thor to versing a new type of Norse mythology god, versing giants, frost giants. Now going to Kratos' durability, again, he could withstand almost anything, being it from monsters and also the effects of different realms, as Kratos himself has literally gone to the underworld on multiple occasions, showing absolutely zero effect to it whatsoever.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Yeah, Kratos is he's an absolute legend.
What would you say about his weaknesses or disadvantages?
Okay, now going to weaknesses and disadvantages, Kratos obviously, again being demigod, he's only half god, so there is that human trait within him. He still can get damaged, he can still be affected by magical type of items. I believe like regular type weaponry will barely have any effect on him. It's probably just like someone like trying to stab you with a feather if like you try to like stab him or impale him with an average sword. But when it came to magical weapons, that is where the true damage can be done for him.
Yeah.
Kratos has been shown even by his own son Atreus, who in a rage, in his own little Spartan rage, actually shot him with an arrow, and Kratos was, I guess you could say, somewhat damaged, somewhat like paralyzed in a way for a small amount of time, but automatically got back up and went back to fighting.
And something about Kratos in the earlier series is that even though Kratos and Zeus sometimes, you know, they had that arguments and whatever, Kratos learned from a dying Athena that Zeus is actually his dad, which I remember when I played the game and I found that out, I was surprised, but at the same time I wasn't. I had like some odd feeling, like something out of I guess out of this dimension. And Speed Racer, the next generation, whenever Speed Racer goes to talk to Spritel, he finds out that he's Speed Racer's son, which I thought that's what compared me to this. That's why at the time of playing it, I watched that episode, and that's what I was able to relate to. Yeah.
Okay, anyways, so okay, well, now that we have God of War's side, let's start Shin Godzilla. Okay, so should I just like explain Shin Godzilla basic and then we can get into further details?
Of course!
Sure.
Okay, so basically, Shin Godzilla is more of the Cretaceous I can't talk, kind. So I'll connect it to 1954. It's actually kind of different. According to the movie of Shin Godzilla, he does definitely have a mollusk type of origin, as he is connected to radioactive spew as he grows into this giant creature known as Shin Godzilla, and pretty much he has the power of a god. States in the movie that Shin Godzilla is actually a god incarnate. Do you agree with that, Mr. Daniel?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, coming with the strength that he has, being a metaphor of nuclear war, Shin Godzilla is more of, I would say, more of the more weird contestants coming to these type of fights, because Shin Godzilla has a huge amount of advantages, but yet a huge amount of disadvantages when it comes to close combat with, you know, difficult opponents like these. So, you know, for obviously when we're gonna talk about, you know, something about advantages, first of all, Shin Godzilla is just has armor that is nearly impossible to get through. I mean, we see it in the movie, like the Japanese Air Force military, they try everything and pretty much nothing is getting through his skin. Like it's not, he's not even showing any type of reaction to it. As in the movie, he's just walking. It's like, hey, what's up, guys? It's like nothing's going on, and he has these lasers that are coming out of everywhere. So just to make a long story short, he has lasers coming out of his mouth, his back, and his tail. And not that only being scary enough, he can actually aim those lasers, because in the movie, I don't know if Daniel, if you remember, in the movie where the F-bombers from the United States actually shoot Shin Godzilla, that's the only place where they can get through, is the back of his spines. Between his spines where those bombs hit, he actually aims his
Yeah.
Yes, I remember till you showed it to me.
So that makes it even more deadly than it already is. Not only is it, you know, it's like a strong laser that pretty much cuts through anything, but you can actually get it to the desired, you know, position where he wants to, which makes it even more deadlier than it already is. And that being said, we don't even know if Kratos is even subject to being alive if nuclear radiation even hits him, because Shin Godzilla is like a walking nuclear reactor. Everywhere he walks, he's just throwing out nuclear radiation, like back and forth, like non-stop. So, you know, it's the massive size. We're gonna talk about, I'm not gonna include Earth Godzilla because that's not a live action Godzilla, but we're gonna talk about all the movie Godzillas, and Shin Godzilla to this date is exactly 118.6 meters tall, making him the largest Godzilla to date. And, you know, Kratos has fought some giants, but has he fought any giants like Shin Godzilla is the question.
Alright, now the part that I would like to bring up is I do think Kratos might be able to beat Shin Godzilla. Now hear me out. I will be contradicting myself in this conversation and you'll see why. And I'll start off with the contradicting part. Okay, one part of me feels like Kratos might lose. And that is because, as Deagle Rant and I mentioned, I'm sorry about that, Kratos is half human. So that part is the part where he's lacking at. He's not a full god in order to defeat Shin Godzilla. But, hear me out, but at the exact same time, he does have a godly weapon that has been given to him by gods. And as Deagle Danny, also a fan of the franchise, has saw, Kratos has defeated gods with the weapon. So, what is holding him back from defeating Shin Godzilla? Now you might say, oh, Shin Godzilla could easily beat him. Well, a god did beat Kratos in a way, and Kratos lose all of his power, but did he regain it? Yes, he did. And did he become 10 times stronger? Of course he did. And came back and won the god. What's holding him back from actually defeating?
To say about that?
Alright, comparing Kratos and Shin Godzilla's feats is the big controversial thing. Now, Kratos himself, yes, he has defeated gods and he's defeated giants and monsters multiple times with almost absolute ease. His weapons, obviously, Blades of Exile, the Blade of Olympus, even now being his Frost Blade, and still the Blades of Chaos, newly upgraded if you played the game, have had major effects against monsters and dragons and all sorts. Now, when coming to Shin Godzilla, here's Shin's one advantage. He has a massive regenerative ability. Kratos has fought against monsters who don't have that regenerative ability. They just have strength and or power. Shin Godzilla has both. Now, the one thing Kratos can make up for is speed. Shin Godzilla is, in a way, although this is still a bit of a controversial thing, and you may, if you look at it in a funny type way, you could see it as well. I doubt Shin Godzilla would even be aware he's being attacked. I've said before in the last
Yeah, I know what you're talking
battle
about.
series.
Yeah.
Shin Godzilla, I doubt he even has the ability, actually like nerves to actually sense what's going on. That's how strong his outer layer is. Like, there is no way he'd be able to, if he can't feel missiles dropping on him on a constant basis, being it tanks or bullets, how exactly is he supposed to feel Kratos' attacks?
Now, okay, that might be true, but then again, Kratos' weapons and strength are not human-made. They are godly. The weapons he has are godly. But as you see, the bombs in Shin Godzilla and whatever are human-made or even lab-made, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're godly-made. And as you saw, now I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but Kratos in a way did defeat Zeus. And I don't know about you guys, but whenever someone talks about a Greek mythology god, Zeus is the first one that comes up to me. He's the most powerful being there is in Greek mythology.
Oh, and also, wait, sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, if you guys have read the comic book, Shin Godzilla also has defeated Zeus himself.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, I remember that. In
So
Godzilla
that makes them
comics.
pretty much, you know, their strengths against gods are pretty much, you know, they have the power. But here's what I see. So how we say that Shin Godzilla, yes, he has this impierceable skin, which I doubt any of Kratos' weapons can get through. His blades of chaos are not gonna get through that. We all know that for sure. And we all know that his blade is not gonna get through that skin. The only way Kratos can inflict any damage on Shin Godzilla, now we're talking about fourth form of Shin Godzilla, is if he can get his way up to his spines and stab him in between his spines, where the bombs actually inflict. But listen, here's the thing: inflict damage. Can Kratos inflict all that heat and radiation that Shin Godzilla is giving off? Not only saying that, Shin Godzilla might not notice that, but yet again, Shin Godzilla actually has another eye on his tail, potentially remaking another. Here's the thing: even if he can outstand that heat, Kratos might even be fighting himself at one point, because yet again, Shin Godzilla can actually recreate genes. So that's another issue for Kratos to go against.
Yes,
Yeah,
this
I
was
mean,
mentioned
Meaning
before in the
millions,
past conversation.
millions of Kratos is coming out. Imagine millions and millions of Kratos fighting one original Kratos. What is he gonna do?
Now, Mr. EI, I'd like to ask you a question, because to be honest, I don't know this information, but by any chance did Shin Godzilla ever verse Medusa?
No, I don't know.
No? Okay. Because in God of War 1, and I don't know if Mr. Deagle knows this or not, but in God of War 1, one of the abilities that Kratos receives is Medusa's head, and that could freeze any monster or for any period of time. So I believe that he could technically freeze Shin Godzilla to the point where all of his body just stands still, and his radiation, whatever power, right, that he that from his own will is coming out of his body, it'll just all stop, and that might give Kratos a chance to stop Shin Godzilla from his plans.
That's also a possible outcome. What do you think, Deagle?
That's actually a massive contradictory there, Mr. Pavamis. If you've seen Shin Godzilla, after he uses his fire breath, he himself actually forces himself to go into like a statue freezing-like state. So
Oh, that is true.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so using the head of Medusa wouldn't do anything.
Okay, but yeah, but Shin Godzilla, that's him controlling his own body, right? But Medusa is known as.
Here. Okay. The rule of Medusa is for both of the eyes to look at the thing, right? To look at the stone or whatever it is. You're forgetting something. Shin Godzilla has an eye in the back of his tail. How is he gonna get that?
That actually is a big advantage. If Medusa's, first of all, Medusa's Kratos would have to get all the way up to Shin Godzilla's eyes, and both eyes must look at Medusa, right?
No, all three
How
eyes,
is
and that's only we know if he has one eye. He could have more eyes in the back, which I've seen pictures before.
Yeah, but
No, there's that, but Medusa's powers only work if both her eyes are still at both the victims' eyes as well. And Shin Godzilla's eyes are massively spread apart, so only one eye is going to be looking at it.
Exactly, it's
don't forget,
impossible.
when Shin Godzilla uses his fire breath, that black mask goes over his eye and covers it, protecting himself.
Yeah.
So Shin Godzilla, if he could be aware of it as a threat, can cover that.
Technically, if he is using fire breath to Kratos, he's technically blind. He's just giving out fire everywhere, so that can't be affected at all.
Okay, and Mr. E, I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you say those were human heads on Shin Godzilla's tail, or what were those again? I'm sorry.
Okay, but basically, it doesn't have to be human heads. Basically, whatever it sees, it can recreate. So, if it sees Kratos, it can basically recreate, like, prototypes of millions of Kratos, just release it at him. So, that's another advantage for Shin.
Okay, because here's another thing. Okay, because okay, here's the thing. Because if I was thinking that you might find it stupid, but it's worth a shot. Because Shin Godzilla might think that Medusa's head might be one of its own. So I personally don't think that at first it might feel it as a threat. Maybe afterwards, but what I do think is that if, because the videos that you show me of Shin Godzilla attacking the city, whatever, there was one point where I saw its tail and its head facing out one direction, just blasting this huge beam.
Yeah, but that's when his eyes are closed. That's when his eyes are closed. He's using the beam, his eyes are closed. So that you can't use that.
But here's the thing, I think Kratos could, okay, obviously it's not going to be like Kratos is going to lose in an instant. I feel like it's going to be one of the most intense matches Shin Godzilla will have. That's why I feel like something's going to happen where eventually Shin Godzilla is going to have to use all of his power, and maybe he'll use all of his eyes, because in other series and usually other boss fights, not just in God of War, but other franchises, and I know Deagle Rant has seen these before because he does follow some of these franchises. Sometimes when a multiple monster has multiple eyes, it usually opens all of them when it's either about to unleash something huge or if it's getting weaker.
No, I know, but the thing is that the tail is on the back. It's like nothing to do. And you know what else could actually go wrong for Kratos if this actually happens?
What?
What if Shin Godzilla decides to make millions of Medusa heads? Just point him at Kratos. He could do that too if he wants.
There is this other one thing that I just remembered, and this also massively goes against that Kratos' weapons as well. All of Greek mythology, being weapons themselves, are elemental based. Shin Godzilla can easily create and adapt to any element, being it fire, water, ice, lava. Those blades actually will not do anything if Shin Godzilla could eventually adapt a hard enough shielding.
Yeah, that is true. Shin Godzilla can adapt to anything, yeah. Exactly.
His evolution, he could evolve 60 years, 80 years within only a few seconds. Kratos' weapons will eventually begin to have absolutely no effect, even with the Blade of Olympus. Well, he doesn't have that anymore, but like, if we're going off of like the recent God of War, then yeah, those weapons are absolutely not going to do anything. Even Norse mythology still has elemental-based weapons. His Frost Axe is not going to do anything. The Blades of Exile, the Blades of Chaos, they're going to do nothing against him after a little while.
Yeah, but here's one thing I'd like to mention. I know, I like how you guys are saying, this is the part where, you know, I won't say you guys are wrong, because honestly you guys are right. Shin Godzilla will evolve, but if you guys are a true fan of God of War, you will know that while Kratos fights, his weapons do evolve too, or shall I say level up. That means they'll get stronger and stronger too. So what's stopping Kratos from also maybe evolving in a way? I mean, I'm not saying like all of a sudden you see him growing two heads. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying stronger. His weapons for all we know, could actually do unlimited damage. Who knows?
Yeah, but that doesn't
What
matter.
could
It doesn't change the fact that there's still elements. There's still elements which Shin Godzilla can pretty much make himself invincible to. So no matter how stronger it gets.
Those weapons.
Yeah,
in
they
the
can't
game
evolve. There is no
evolve.
evolving of his weapons. The only thing he could do is make him stronger. And
Yeah,
there is no
upgrading, and
point.
those upgradings go to a point.
Yeah, and there's no point of him upgrading if it's the element. If Shin Godzilla is invincible to that element, no matter how strong it is, he's still invincible. So it's just like saying he's scratching him. So that makes a point. But, you know, guys, we're going on for too long. We're gonna have to cut it short, guys. I'm sure we all have much more to say. We're gonna leave it to you. We're gonna leave it to you guys. Who you think? I think this is a walk in the park for Shin Godzilla. But you know, you guys can obviously argue against that. Let me know what you guys think. Yeah.
Now, before you end this video, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to the viewers for almost getting EI to 10,000. Also, please in the comments, please write what you guys think. You know, comment at me or Deagle Rants. State your own opinions. But in my own opinion, I do think that Palkia will be a bigger threat than Kratos. And if you guys want to see that debate, check out the last debate on EI's channel. Maybe EI will leave in the link of the description. Who knows?
Yeah. Alright, guys, subscribe to them. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And as always, have a great day.
Have a great day.